Back in New York, I'm Brent Mushberger, and our producer down in Houston, Bob Stenner, tells us that Rob Carpenter is okay. He left the field under his own power. I have some more details now on the tragic death of Lyman Bostock, the young outfielder for the California Angels. In case you're not aware of the story, he was shot and killed last night in Gary, Indiana. He was visiting an uncle. He was riding in an automobile with his uncle and a Mrs. Smith at the time of the shooting. It now turns out that a gunman who pulled up alongside of the car and shot Bostock apparently was attempting to kill his estranged wife. She is in fair condition at this hour in the hospital. She later identified the man who has been arrested. His name is Leonard Smith, and the Gary, Indiana police now are emphasizing that they know of absolutely no relationship between Mrs. Smith and Lyman. Both apparently were dinner guests at Lyman's uncle's house that night, and they were taking Lyman back to Chicago, where the Angels had a game scheduled against the Chicago White Sox. So at the age of 27, Lyman Bostock is dead, and what a senseless tragedy it apparently is. Now, let's go around the NFL and get you up to date on the scores. We have Cincinnati leading New Orleans 13-7. That is in the second quarter. In the game, of course, you are watching from the Houston Astrodome. The unbeaten Los Angeles Rams lead the Oilers 10-3 in the second quarter. Baltimore coming back against Buffalo. Chuck Knox trying to win today. It's 21-14 right now. Buffalo leading Baltimore. And in an upset so far, Cleveland ahead of Pittsburgh. It's been a tough defensive game. That's in the second quarter. Philadelphia ahead of the Miami Dolphins, 7-3. That game is at the half. And down in Washington, the unbeaten Redskins marching, leading the Jets 10-3 in the second quarter. And Denver and Kansas City are underway, and they are tied at 7 in the first.
And who is going to win college football's Heisman Trophy? Usually goes to the leading offensive player on a winning team. Last year, Earl Campbell of Texas had it wrapped up from the start. But this year, well, it's wide open, and Brent takes a look at some of the candidates.
Jane, being a quarterback at Notre Dame is an automatic plus. Joe Montana following in the tracks of Johnny Lou Jack, Paul Hornung, Johnny Hewitt. But yesterday, he was sidetracked in the second half by the Michigan Wolverines. And before it was over, Michigan had beaten Notre Dame and Montana 28-14. Joe is now 0-2. Another position, rich in tradition, tailback at SC, but Charles White fumbled inside the 5 against Alabama. But White, the next time he handled the ball, exploded for 40 yards and a USC touchdown as they upset Alabama. And before the game was over, the Trojans' White had run for 197 yards, and look out, O.J. Simpson, he's our favorite. Other candidates for the Heisman include number 7, quarterback Rick Leach of Michigan. He has led the Wolverines to victories over Illinois and Notre Dame. Penn State's candidate is quarterback Chuck Fusina, who rallied the Nittany Lions in the second half as they defeated SMU. And in Oklahoma, they are raving about number 6, quarterback Thomas Lott. This is action from an earlier Stanford game. Yesterday, Lott and Oklahoma exploded for 66 points against Rice. And Jane, of all the candidates, Lott may be the most confident. He said, I may just back right into this Heisman Trophy. And the NFL today will continue with some highlights on CBS in just a moment after these messages from your local station. Irv, you've been impressed with the Rams so far?
Very much, Ben. You know, the Houston Oilers have a real tough defensive club, and the Rams have been able to move the ball on the ground. They lead at halftime by a score of 10-3, and Cullen Bryant is the man who draws first blood here as he goes in from the 3-yard line in the first quarter. The Rams take an early 7-0 lead. Pat Hayden had a pretty good day throwing the ball, too, Brent. Here he goes outside to number 82, Willie Miller, who takes the ball from Hayden and tiptoes along the sideline for a 26-yard game, which led to a field goal for a 10-0 lead. But the guy who's been a real surprise is right here, Rob Carpenter, a running back out of Miami of Ohio who was drafted by the Houston Oilers in the 3rd round last year, is having a pretty good day, and he sets up a field goal position for the Oilers. Pastorini going to the air to Rob Carpenter, who's having, as I said before, a big day. He takes the ball inside, but at halftime, the Rams lead 10-3.
Irv, it was interesting looking at your highlights. Every time Pastorini was going back to pass, number 85, Jack Youngblood, was in on top of him. He's coming off a tremendous game against Dallas. He has got a shot to be the player of the year if he keeps it up the way he has so far on that defensive line. Let's now check in on some Cincinnati plays against New Orleans. Here's John Reeves filling in for the injured Kenny Anderson, going to Pete Johnson, the former Ohio State fullback. He carried it to the Saints' 44. Reeves himself will get to the 24, and on this play, it set up a Chris Barr field goal, 3-0 Bengals. Archie Manning playing well this year. Here he is going to Tinker Owens. Owens, of course, the brother of Steve Owens, both played down at Oklahoma. Owens to the 43-yard line. And it's that combination again, Manning to Owens. Some said that Tinker might not be strong enough to play in the NFL. Look at that, struggling to the 20. Now, Strawn got the touchdown here for the Saints, and it was 7-3 New Orleans after the extra point. Manning about to be hit by Reggie Williams. Archie trying to get free, and the ball is stripped from him right there and recovered by the Bengals, and that set up this touchdown. Reeves to Tom Bass in the second quarter. Cincinnati is now ahead 13-10, and that game is at the half.